Let us discuss about retinitis pigmentosa. In retinitis pigmentosa, what happens is there is dystrophy of pigmentary epithelium of retina. Pigmentary epithelium of retina, right? So as all of us know, in pigmentary epithelium, what we have are rods and cones. So here these rods and cones will undergo dystrophy. Will undergo dystrophy. Most commonly, rods are involved. Okay, so here what happens is there is dystrophy of rods and cones. Most of the time, rods are involved, right? So the definition is it is primary dystrophy of pigmentary epithelium of retina. So the word primary indicates it is idiopathy, right? See, basically what happens here is uh, there is decrease in size and lumen of arterioles of retina, right? So due to this there is reduced oxygen supply. This results in death of rods and cones. Most commonly involved are rods, right? So due to decrease in size and lumen of arterioles, there is decreased perfusion, right? Due to decreased perfusion, it results in death of rods and cones. So most of the time in it is rods that are involved. So if you see these at a microscopic level, if you see these changes on fundus examination, what you see is decreased size and lumen of arterioles, right? You'll see decreased size and lumen of arterioles, and around the veins what you see is you see some black spots around veins. You see some black spots, and as I told you there is atrophy of rods and cones, right? So due to this atrophy, what we see is thinning of pigmentary epithelium, right? Thinning of pigmentary epithelium. If you see optic disc, this optic disc will also be pale and waxy, and on later stages this optic disc will also undergo atrophy. If you see macula, around macula you will see some epithelium retained epithelium, right? So if you see these changes at fundus level, what you see is decreased size of arterioles, and lumen also will also get reduced. Okay, around the veins what you see is black spots. These black spots will resemble like corpuscles of bone. We can say bone corpuscles. Okay, so around the veins what you see is black spots, and due to this decreased blood supply, there will be thinning of pigmentary epithelium. At the optic disc level what you see is initially there will be pale and waxy. After that even this optic disc will also undergo atrophy. Around the macula you see retained epithelium. Okay, around macula you see retained epithelium. So as I told you, rods are most commonly involved, and uh, these are the first things that are going to get affected. Okay, first rods will get affected, later on cones will also get affected. Okay, so as the rods are getting affected, what you see is night blindness. and this night blindness is the earliest symptom or earliest feature that we observe. Earliest feature, right? This night blindness appears before the other clinical symptoms arises, right? So it appears much earlier than other clinical symptoms. And as the rods are affected, what we can see is dark adaptation. Dark adaptation time will also get affected, because dark adaptation will depends on the function of rods. So even this dark adaptation time will also get affected. Okay, then you will see tubular vision. Tubular vision, this usually what we understand from this is, so if take this is the field, the overall vision that we see, what we can see is only central part. All the peripheral part will be dark. Only what we can see is central part. Okay, so the reason for this is, so you say this is pigmentary epithelium all over. Pigmentary epithelium will get affected peripherally first, then central one will get affected. So as the periphery is getting affected earlier, so the periphery vision will be affected first, then the central vision will get affected. Okay, so first the peripheral vision will get affected, then even central vision also gets affected. But this is lateral stages, and then after even cones will also get affected, right? So this is about pathogenesis. Now let's see the types of this retinitis pigmentosa. Okay, so these are mainly two types of retinitis pigmentosa are there. One is type 1, second one is type 2. First thing that we have to understand here is on what basis these two have been classified. These two have been classified based on involvement of rods and cones. Based on involvement of rods and cones, these two have been classified. In type 1, what you see is involvement of cones, right? In type 1, what we see is involvement of cones. In type 2, what you see is involvement of both cones and rods. Clear? So in type 1 only cones are affected, whereas in type 2 both two are affected. Clear? Now you will see some associations. Right? First, ocular associations. What are other ocular conditions that can get associated with this disease? First one is myopia. Myopia can be associated with retinitis pigmentosa. Next one is primary open angle glaucoma. Primary open angle glaucoma. Microphthalmos. Clear? Next, posterior subcapsular cataract. Next one is keratoconus. So all these conditions can get associated with the retinitis pigmentosa. Next, systemic associations. See, we cannot say that every retinitis pigmentosa must associate with systemic conditions. Based on this, this retinitis pigmentosa is of two types. One is retinitis pigmentosa non-syndromic or simple retinitis pigmentosa. Retinitis pigmentosa non-syndromic, in the sense there is no systemic associations. When there are no systemic associations, then we say retinitis pigmentosa non-syndrome. When there are systemic associations, then it is called syndromic retinitis pigmentosa. Clear? When there are systemic associations, we say syndromic retinitis pigmentosa. Okay, syndromic retinitis pigmentosa. When there are no systemic association, then we say pigmentosa non-syndrome or simple retinitis pigmentosa. Let's see what are the syndromic associations. Okay, sorry, what are the systemic associations? The first one is Lawrence-Moon-Biddle syndrome. Lawrence-Moon-Biddle syndrome. Here the systemic associations are obesity, hypogonadism, polydactyly, and mental deficiency. Okay, this is Lawrence-Moon-Biddle syndrome. In Cockayne syndrome, the associations are progressive infantile deafness, dwarfism, mental retardation, nystagmus, and ataxia. Then Refson syndrome. In Refson syndrome, the associations are peripheral neuropathy and cerebellar ataxia. Clear? And the fourth one is Usher syndrome. Okay, these are again three types. Fifth one is Hallgren syndrome. Okay, so the associations are Lawrence-Moon-Biddle syndrome, Cockayne syndrome, Refson syndrome, Usher syndrome, and Hallgren syndrome. Clear? There are certain atypical forms of retinitis pigmentosa. These are retinitis pigmentosa sin pigmento, sectorial retinitis pigmentosa, pericentric retinitis pigmentosa, and retinitis punctata albicans. Right? The first one is retinitis pigmentosa sin pigmentosa. Here what we see is, we'll see all the clinical features of typical retinitis pigmentosa, except that there are absence of visual pigmentary changes. That means we don't see these pigmentary changes. Okay, in retinitis pigmentosa sin pigmento, we don't see pigmentary changes. All other changes are seen. In sectorial retinitis pigmentosa, only one sector of retina is involved. Clear? In sectorial retinitis pigmentosa, only one sector of retina is involved. In pericentric retinitis pigmentosa, what happens here is, here these pigmentary changes, they are confined to one area. This area is around macula. Okay, the changes are limited to one area which is around macula. Clear? This is pericentric retinitis pigmentosa. Next, retinitis punctata albicans. Here it is characterized by presence of innumerable discrete white spots scattered over fundus without pigmentary changes. Okay, here what we observe is, we observe white spots. These white spots are scattered over fundus, and we don't see any pigmentary changes. Clear? So this is about atypical forms of retinitis pigmentosa. And here we have to see visual field changes. In visual field changes, what we observe is annular or ring-shaped scotoma. Clear? Annular or ring-shaped scotoma. This ring-shaped scotoma will correspond to the degenerated equatorial zone of retina. Okay, so as I told you, initially peripheral zone will be affected, then central zone will be affected, right? So when that particular portion is affected, then that corresponding visual field will be affected. Clear? When that particular area of epithelium is affected, then corresponding visual field will get affected. Clear? And this is called annular or ring shaped scotoma. And if see some general points that we have to know about retinitis pigmentosa. This retinitis pigmentosa can occur as sporadic disorder, right? In sporadic disorder, we have better prognosis and we can save vision up to 6th decade of life. Okay, but in inherited forms it's not like that. The vision will not be preserved for such a long duration. In inherited disorder, it can be inherited in different forms like autosomal dominant form, autosomal recessive forms, X-linked recessive forms. In autosomal dominant form, the prognosis will be good. Okay, the prognosis will be best prognosis among these three, and it is more common. Okay, autosomal dominant is the more common and it has got better prognosis or best prognosis. In autosomal recessive condition, the severity will be of intermediate type and it is less common. X-linked recessive condition. In X-linked recessive condition, the severity will be worst. The severity will be more and it is least common. Clear? And these X-linked recessive forms is of two types, simplex and multiplex. In simplex form, what we see is in the family history we will see only one affected member. Okay, only one affected member will be there, whereas in multiplex what we see is more than one member will be affected. Di-inherited forms will be rare, right? So inherited disorders, we can see three forms: autosomal dominant form, X-linked recessive forms, and autosomal recessive forms. Here the best prognosis is seen with autosomal dominant, whereas least and prognosis is seen with X-linked recessive forms. Clear? Then we'll see the prevalence. The prevalence of this condition is 1 in 5,000 people. Age is most of the time it is seen in childhood, and this disease progresses and ultimately blindness will be seen. And sex, most of the time it is seen in males, and the ratio being affected is 3:2. Males are male is to female ratio is 3:2. And laterality, disease is almost invariably bilateral. The condition is bilateral and both eyes are affected equally. Clear? And the last one that we have to discuss is treatment. Here there is no specific treatment. What as there is no specific treatment, what we try to do here is we will try to prevent the disease, or we will try to decrease the progression, or we will try to prevent the progression. Okay, the treatment options we have here are vasodilators. As I told you, there is a decrease in size of blood vessels, so what we advise the patient is to take vasodilator. Then placental extracts, transplantation of rectus muscles into suprachoroidal space, light exclusion therapy, ultrasonic therapy, acupuncture therapy. Then recently it has been found that vitamin A will check the progress, and if there is any associated myopia or any if there are any refractive errors, we can correct with giving glasses. And if there is any macular edema, then we can prescribe acetazolamide. Okay, stem cell therapy, but this therapy is under investigation. There is no evidence that this stem cell therapy would work, right? Then gene therapy trials have been going on. Retinal prosthesis. This is retinal prosthesis that we use here is bionic eye. We have to know about what is bionic eye. See, this bionic eye is an actually implantation in the eye. What it does is it takes the function of pigment reptilium. What pigment reptilium does in our eye is it converts light energy into electrical energy, right? So here also this bionic eye does the same function, right? It does the same function. That means it converts light energy into electrical energy and pass it to the nerves, I mean optic nerve. Clear? So when there is some problem in the pigment reptilium, we can replace that pigment reptilium with bionic eye so that it takes over the function. Clear? Then low vision aids like magnifying glasses, night vision device, all these things can be uh, advised and can be given. Rehabilitation, prophylaxis. That here what we do is, if the parents are affected, then we advise those parents not to have children. Okay, this is about pigmentary epithelium. Thank you for watching.